أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. We are discussing some ayat of the Holy Quran pertaining to family and related matters. Last time we had discussed one model, that is the Japanese family model, and certain aspects of a Japanese family model which seem to be closer to some of the provisions of these ayat in the Quran, that they are successfully maintaining their families, and at the same time they have been very successful in the economic advancement, scientific advancement, and they are one of the advanced nation in the world. And the conclusion seems to be that it's not the modernity does not lie in immorality. Modernity can be achieved along with the morality while maintaining family norms. And in fact, if we maintain the family norms, the family supports, as is visible in the case of Japan, that they achieved industrialization and all this development with along with their family model. So in recapitulation, I'll simply display only some of the couple of slides from the last lecture so that we get some connection with the last lecture, and then I'll come to the remaining part which I'll start today. One of the question was about the qualification of the husbands or the people or the men. What are their qualifications? Ar-rijal kawamun. Two important qualifications which Quran has mentioned, that they stand witness, they stand as a model for Allah in their conduct, in their character. They are the Kawamun, and they stand with kist, they stand with justice. So it's not just anybody who is unjust husband or who is unjust man, he can claim the benefits or the perks or privileges of being Kawamun. And then we had also seen that same-sex model needs support of invasive surrogacy technology, which cannot be made available, for example, to the total population, which is 7 billion at the moment. And it also needs adoption rules, regulations, which are still at the infancy, at the starting level. Then we had also seen that in the modern age, priority has shifted from building family, particularly in the West, to merely finding a partner with mutual fondness instead of founding a family. This has been the major shift in man's thinking, in the society's thinking, that we have come to this stage, in which economic shortfalls are to be covered through double income arrangements that husband and wife both share. Children outside wedlock and divorce have become acceptable. This is the problem with the Western model. Whereas in the Japanese model, we have seen that the outcomes are, as compared to other outcomes, other people, this is the list of the countries, and Japan has the lowest rate of births outside marriage. And consistently, even today, it is much less compared to those who are almost in the 60% range, and they are only 2.2%. And there was also a question about what men want, what the society wants from the women. Harsun, that is the human capital. And I had shown the slide, and it was also reiterated, and it was re-emphasized and said that the main purpose is not the production of next generation. For example, for some specific job of a nation, or just some specific point on which we want to train them as zealots and bigots. The point is that we have to train them. We have right from the beginning, right from the point of conception, that they become good human beings. We have to produce the next generation and the next generation and the coming generations as good for the human beings, as good human beings for greater good. In most surveys, people indicated that family life should emphasize parent-child ties, even over husband-wife relations. This does not mean that we have to ignore the husband-wife relation, but the parents, as parents, they give priority to the children. Japanese couples regard parental roles as more important than couple roles when they have children. Again, this does not mean ignoring the couple role. It means that the couple role gives priority to their own children. And we have discussed this new aspect also, that even when in the surveys in Japan, it has been found that even when the relationships are not normal between husband and wife, even then they try to pull on just for the sake of children in most of the cases. And again, this does not mean that they should pull on like this, but the surveys show that their consideration for children is so much that they even compromise their personal interactions or adjustments. And then there is the rule of natural selection, there is biodifferentiation, and there are gender rules. This is in the nature, this is in the animal world, that there are gender roles, and they have different functions. They have to be performed, and equal dimensions as in nature, in cosmos, in biodiversity. Equal dimensions is not the driving force of nature. It is the balancing act of functions, duties, responsibilities, rights of variable quantities that keeps all working sets of entities in universe in equation. In equation, it is not for the purpose of equalization. In human sphere, the balancing act comprises, according to Quran, equality of human rights. Surah An-Nisa, ayat number 1. There are many other ayat also. And specific roles according to bio-specializations. Bima fadalallah. Again, Surah An-Nisa, ayat 34. An appropriate place of each in the design of the society. And that is Adl. Again, Surah An-Nisa, ayat number 3. And there are many other references. And we had also seen that historical natural family model serves the objective of having children and building family on the pillars of natural mother and natural father. This is the model of Quran. And natural family is smallest management unit of beings necessary for preservation of both genders. I'm just repeated some of the slides from the last lecture. This is the last one which I have shown to you. Lifestyles have now diversified at the expense of concept of family. A broader range of cohabitation types has emerged. Instead of strong family bonds, there are only cohabitation types. Now, with this, I come to the today's presentation. That is the part 3 of the model which we were discussing from last time. I hope you can see this also. This is part 3. of the model which we were discussing last time. And this, we have come to the functional family. The purpose of the family, the model which we are discussing, and at this point is to discuss the functionality of the family. We are not discussing the dysfunctional families. The husband and wife, they are not talking to each other. The parents are not talking to children, or the children are not talking to their parents, and so on. This is not the situation. We are talking about a functional family. In the functional family, there is personal and social function both. This is very important. And this is the concept of Islamic family. Family according to Quran, we'll come to that there is a personal function of the wife, personal function of the husband, personal function of the children, and then there is a social function also. The family as an institution has both a social and personal function. The social and personal function as an institution, not just as cohabitation type, not just as a dysfunctional family, as a functional family institution. Wife also has primary, peculiar, traditional responsibility in Japan. I'm now talking about Japan, of maintaining familial relations, both patrilineal and matrilineal. There, the mothers teach their daughters, teach their children that when the daughter is married, it goes to the in-laws, she goes to the husband. In that house, she has to maintain the family relations of mother, father and mother of the husband, and the relations of the husband. This is taught to their children, to their daughters, and they teach their sons also that they have to maintain the familial relations. But unfortunately, in most of the cases, we find here that in our case, in our countries, you must be aware of that, you must be knowing, everybody knows it. The first thing which the task, as a task, is giving to the child, to the girl, when she is getting married, her first task appears to be to separate the husband from his parents and go to a separate house. Similarly, the husband has a task that as soon as he marries, the mother teaches him, the father teaches him how to control and suppress the wife. Outline of the new criminal law in Japan. This law was passed in 1870. The name of the law is Outline of the New Criminal Law 1870. And some of the provisions have the effect of the force of a criminal law. If somebody violates it, it is a crime and it can be punished. How this was formed? First of all, a survey was conducted. Official surveys during Meiji dynasty at that time demonstrated that most common family characteristics in Japan were very local residents. One of the important aspects of their family life was that the couple, the newly-wed couple, husband and wife as a couple, they want to live close to the parents, or they want to keep the parents with them. The first priority is that they want to live with the parents, they want to keep the parents with them, and if it is not possible because of any reason, say space, accommodation, then they try to live to the nearest point. And then they follow the same structure, shajara. They take pride in that. They take pride in their family name. If somebody does a wrong thing, they think as if they have spoiled the name of the family. You remember in Surah about Hazrat Maryam, when she is blamed falsely, she is being told that your brother didn't do like that, your mother didn't do like that, your family is not as such. Then how did you commit this thing? So they believe in the family name, family character, and patrilineal descent. They care for the name of their father. They take pride in that. These are important things in the family which we ignore. The patrilineal primogeniture, primogeniture, uh, good or bad, but I'm just trying to say that what is in their model. There is still the property, you can say the major share of the property goes to the eldest son. And under this law, he is required to perpetuate the family, to look after the family, to look after the mother, father. And why he is given greater share in the property? In order to keep the family intact, to spend on the family. As this ayat also says, which we are discussing, that men are the kawamun, the men are kawamun because they spend, and they spend their own money on their wives, on their children, on their family. And under this Japanese law also, under the law of primogeniture, the man who gets the larger share spends on the family, and he has the responsibility to perpetuate the family. So the laws are promulgated. This law was passed in 1870, institutionalizing this family, not breaking the family to cohabitation, institutionalizing this family pattern in 1870. Official family register is open. One has to register it. And this register was opened in 1871. They have a family stamp in that register. They have the family name in that register. They have the family descent in that register. And according to that register, the responsibilities also flow down. Separation from or abandon of parents is abhorrible there. It is criminal there. In social anthropology, the term patrilocal or virilocal, you have seen this word in the law, which they've used it, virilocal, that is patrilocal. It means that the residence of the parents is the nearest or is together, refers to social system in which a married couple resides with or near the husband's parents, not the wife's parents. First priority is they live with the husband's parents, and the daughter and the wife. In the last slides, we had seen that they also prefer that their mother should be nearer, because at the time of delivery and other maternal problems, she looks up to their parents. Paternal grandparents may live with their family, even the paternal grandparents. But when Japan's small living spaces limit multi-generational household situations, typically extended family is usually kept in close proximity and is visited often. And here I have given the reference also. As I said, that Japanese family has a personal and a social function also. And Quran is also prescribing personal as well as social function. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is encouraging interconnectionship in family relations. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that you can eat together, ta'kulu jamiya, or you can eat separately. From you go to their houses, you go to the house of your mother, your father, grandfather, grandmother, your maternal aunt, your paternal aunt, your sisters, your brothers. These have been mentioned in detail, and word buyut has been repeated most of the time. Their houses, their homes, go there. It's not just taking them to the hotel, just taking them to restaurant. Go to their houses, your friends' houses, your brothers' houses, your parents' houses, your sisters' houses, your aunt's houses, and eat there. Eat together, socialize. Don't break the relations. in this ayah, we are not, this ayah is not the focus of our discussion, but this ayah provides us the basis of our social function as a family. It is in itself a big subject. And here it says that whenever you enter these houses of your aunts, your uncles, and these parents and the relations, send them salam. Go smiling, go happily, meet them, hug them, talk to them, ask them about their health, share with them your ideas, your opinions, discuss with them, spend time with them. And this is the matter which here Quran is relating to aql, reasoning. If you have wisdom, if you can reason out, then consider this ayah for the social purpose of the family, social function of the family. It's not just husband and wife. Quran is giving a much wider concept of a family. I am highlighting those words again. Buyut akhwanakum, the houses of your brothers, your houses of your sisters, houses of your uncles and your aunts. And then I'm highlighting again, you eat together, sit together, go to their houses, send salam. But what is happening here, unfortunately, in copying others out of inferiority and out of ignorance, we have dysfunctional families. When they come for counseling, I find that the husband and wife are not on talking terms since years. The children are not on talking terms to each other, to their parents, and they are not talking on. They have not seen the grandparents for years, and they have not gone to any relation's house, or they have not allowed any relation to come to their house for years. This is a dysfunctional family. This is what I call it, dysfunctional family. A fractured family and family fissures. This has become an intergenerational aspect of our family system and our family feature. How it has happened that we have made it, that we have created fissures, that we have created families. In fact, we have negated the very basis of the definition of these relations in the Quran. For example, you will find in most of the fiqh literature, particularly of some sects, they exclude the wife from the definition of Ahl Bayt. Whereas Quran is using this word, Surah 11, Ayat 73, where the angels are sending the rahmat of Allah and barakat of Allah to the wife of Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ahl Bayt. Wife is Ahl Bayt. We have excluded her from the definition of Ahl Bayt. Only daughter is Ahl Bayt. Nobody else is Ahl Bayt, or her children are Ahl Bayt. This is how the discussions have taken place in our literature, and how we have relegated the role of the wife. And from the all also, we have excluded other members, desanctified them. We have desanctified relationships. And I have mentioned about this, the Ar-Rijal Qawamun ala Nisa, because they have some qualifications, they have qualities, they have attributes, that they are just, they stand bil qist, and they stand for Allah, Lillah. The relationships are for Allah. They spend for Lillah. They behave nicely with the wife and the children, Lillah, for Allah. If they don't have these qualities, they are disqualified to be the Ar-Rijal Qawamun. They are not Qawamun. They don't have any authority there. Then these fissures and these fractures combined together, what the picture is presented, what is the picture? Husband and wife divide in the dysfunctional family which we are having today. Neglect and abandonment of parents Another feature, these are the features of our dysfunctional families. Husband and wife divide, neglect and abandonment of parents, gender inequality. Woman is the most oppressed relation in the family system. Wife is the most oppressed person in the family system today, in the dysfunctional family system today. And rejection of relations, rejection of having any connection with the parents of the husband or with the parents of the wife or other relations of the husband and wife. Rejection of relations. These are the nowadays the qualities or the features of a dysfunctional family system. I have already discussed this. I will not repeat this. That har sakun, women are your human capital. They are your capital, sarmaya. They are your human capital. And desired application, anna shaitum, how you apply them, how want to use them, how you want to create a generation. I had exposed this slide earlier also. And deal with them gently. Deal with your wife gently. The Prophet, peace be upon him, says that who is gentle to his wife, he is the best among the mu'minun. He is the best mu'min. He is the best believer. He is nearest to me. This also requires not just the spousal responsibilities or relationships or the parental responsibilities and relationships. This requires whole system as a society, and it requires certain implementation mechanism. You have seen that Japan has implemented it through a legal implementation mechanism in their law 1870. Today we have Sharia in the Quran, but we don't have Sharia law. This is the difference. Sharia cannot be enforced unless it is codified into a Sharia law by the state. Then it becomes enforceable by the state. Otherwise, it cannot be. In Muslim countries, it is not being implemented because it is not part of the legal system. Here we have all the good principles in the Quran, but they are not a part of the legal system where you can take the delinquent husband to task. Why he is misbehaving with the wife. Unfortunately, for example, in Pakistan, there's Sharia code, but family law is not the jurisdiction of the Sharia code. If the husband is not behaving, he cannot be taken under that law to task. Implementation mechanism for women rights with purpose. What is the object? The object is to ensure the women rights. And how can they be involved? Can be achieved? It has different aspects. It involves laws, policies, behaviors, attitudes. If we don't address these things, we cannot ensure women's rights in those societies where the women are the most downtrodden. We just can give lectures that these are the responsibilities, these are the moral codes, but they are not implementable, they are not enforceable. And then it requires investment in knowledge. People don't have the knowledge of these things. Most of the people, even here, when they come here, they don't have the knowledge. And they don't have the framework where it can work. And mechanism of enforcements, I've already mentioned about it. Then the household system. It works as a whole household system. It's not just husband and wife. It is a household system. In Japan, monogynous patriarchal family has prevailed since 8th century. We have broken this model by about, we broke this model about 1000 years back. But they have maintained this model since 8th century. And they have codified it in the 19th century, 1870. Instead of making any progress, we went back, and that is why our civilization is decaying. Now, this system is called E system, i.e., this is a Japanese word, and in English, I've just taken its pronunciation, A system. And it is basically based on religion, the Confucian influenced pattern of family model. It is not an invention, it is not borrowed from anywhere. It is a Confucian influenced pattern of family model, religion influenced pattern of a family model. In early 20th century, each family was required to conform to the household system, Ahl Bayt, household system. Every family was asked to conform, not only in the survey, but in legal terms. And we have here desanctified the term Ahl Bayt, narrowed it down. Quran uses the word Ahl Bayt for wife. With a multi-generational household, Abu, family name, father's name, family's name. They take pride in Abu Bakr. I'm son of Abu Bakr. Multi-generational household system, not just the household system, but multi-generational household systems under the law, under the religion, under the legal authority of a household head, wali. They have a wali, household wali. They do not allow many things you will see when we proceed further without wali. Wali has the characteristics of Bilqis, Shuhada Lillah. He has the attributes which are mentioned in Quran, that he stands for justice, justice for his daughter-in-law, justice for his daughter. And here, our man who is usurping the right of daughter, and he says, I'm wali. How he is wali? He is usurping the rights of his wife and his daughter-in-law, and he says, I'm wali. He is not wali. The household head, wali in Japan, has all these attributes of being just to take a stand for the rights of the women and the rights of the household, all household. In establishing this system called A, the government moved the ideology. Government also came in. I have talked about the mechanisms. I have shown you here that you need a system, you need a mechanism. The government moved in establishing this system called E. The government moved the ideology of family in the opposite direction of trends resulting from urbanization and industrialization. What they did, the government stood as a guard that industrialization and urbanization is pulling the family apart from these traditions, from these strong points of the family, from the strength foundation of the family. They stood guard and they made laws to protect the traditional system, and they provided relief wherever it was required during urbanization and industrialization. They didn't let it to the forces of industrialization and urbanization to destroy the family. They protected the family by law. Authority ar-rijal kawamun, authority and responsibility for all members of the A in Japanese family household lay legally under the law with the household head wali, ar-rijal kawamun, and we feel inferior in presenting this ayat in today's world. They are protecting it under the law. Another reference here, perpetuating the gender-based model. In Japan, families with breadwinning father, two roles, dual system, and homemaking mother were a norm. You have seen in the surveys and in the law, were a norm following World War II. Even through high growth years of post-war industrialization, they protected it by law. Even during industrialization, this prevailed even after oil crisis of 70s as male employment remained very stable until bubble economy burst in 1992. The problem with us is that we don't want to study Quran along with the modern ulum, sciences. If somebody makes an effort to present Quran in the modern, along with the modern sciences, he is opposed. People don't want to listen to these things. But look at Japanese model, that they study these things, how the economy is moving, where we have to make an adjustment, how the urbanization society is moving, how we have to make the adjustments, how we have to protect it. Another reference, different. This is different reference from the other one. In Japan, impact of the lifestyle, this is another aspect rather, it is the another aspect of the reference. In Japan, impact of the lifestyle revolution. Modernization has brought a lifestyle revolution. In Japan, impact of the lifestyle revolution seen in other parts of the world, as we find it in other parts of the world, has been limited. It has least affected the family system there. And there has not been similar diversification of cohabitation types. Man is still attached to his family, even if he has to go to work outside the home in, say, in urban area and families in the rural areas. Another aspect of this reference, in Japan, although there has been a rise in number of women in workforce, women are coming to work, they can. There's no bar. In Islam, there's no bar. A high proportion still remain full-time homemakers during childbearing years compared with other industrial countries. Another aspect, 2 of 3 employed married women, which means 60%, are working as part-timers, not full-timers. Moreover, so that they are still legally getting their husband's income. They are proud to depend on the income of their husband legally. In that sense, the gender-based division of labor is still largely intact. That's why their children are so intact. Now, what is the future of the Japanese family? Diversification or virtualization? This is affecting everywhere. Society and culture, how it is affected. The Japanese family facilitates economically prosperous lifestyles, as I mentioned, in 1970s, in bubble economy, in other aspects, they have been adjusting and makes it possible to live with loved ones in harmony with natural needs of affection. Until quite recently, but the things are changing, these two functions in most industrial countries were fulfilled through a gender-based division of labor, characterized by a bread-winning husband and a home-making wife. This was the old model. Still, they are trying to maintain it, but it is under pressure. Government is making adjustments, people are making adjustments, society is making adjustments to protect this system. However, developments in global economy during last about 3 decades have affected this model increasingly. This is a fact. Industrialization allowed the men to be able to support their families as the sole breadwinner thanks to stable employment and income, enabling their wives to devote themselves full-time to being homemaker mothers. This is how they utilize this economic benefit. Globalization heralded new economy characterized by widening income inequalities, as pointed out by Thomas Piketty. You remember I had mentioned Thomas Piketty as his model of income-based economic model, which is nearest to the hadith of the Prophet, peace be upon him, when a question about riba was raised. In contrast to the credit-based economic model, Prophet gave an income-based model, and Piketty has discussed that model. Now, Piketty is such a great economist of today that he stands along with Karl Marx and Ricardo so far as these concepts are concerned, in which share of men earnings decline. As a result, the gender-based division of labor of earlier generations increasingly under transformation. Their model is now under pressure because of these changes taking place everywhere around the world. And filial violence is increasing. What is filial violence? Filial violence is mistreatment or neglect of child by parents or caretakers. Reports of increasing filial violence are increasing. Reports are increasing. Hello. Among younger couples, more flexible gender roles are becoming popular. And this is the last slide. And interesting survey reports show that although attitudes are changing, there are pressures. Actual behaviors are changing a little, but they are changing little. Attitudes are changing, yes, but the actual behaviors which are changing is little. They are not changing much. Japanese men do only 20 to 30 minutes worth of domestic work per day. Still, most of the home work is done by the women, while women spend 3.5 hours in household chores. Woman is still giving more time to the children, to the house, and man is giving, although lesser time, but he is economically sustaining the family with all his effort, although the economic pressures are increasing on him. With this, I stop here.
اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك اللهم لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت فإنك يا ربنا تقضي بالحق ولا يقضى عليك. اللهم ادخلنا برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين. اللهم اخرجنا من ظلمات الجهل والوهم إلى نور العلم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم اجعلنا ممن يستمعون القول فيتبعون احسنه. اللهم اكفنا بحلالك عن حرامك وبطاعتك عن معصيتك وفضلك عن من سواك. اللهم بفضلك ورحمتك على كلمة الحق والدين. اللهم انصر الإسلام وعز المسلمين يا أكرم الأكرمين. Oh Allah, spread your mercy upon us, shower us with your blessings, increase our knowledge, grant us forgiveness, and reward us with the company of the prophets in the Firdaus al-A'la. Oh Allah, forgive our parents and all our friends and relatives who have passed away. Grant them your mercy and make their graves burden from heaven and grant them the Firdaus al-A'la. Oh Allah, remedy our sick and all our friends and relatives and our son Ma'raj and our Munshi mother-in-law. Oh Allah, grant them full and speedy recovery. Oh Allah, guide our children, protect them and make them righteous. Oh Allah, we ask you every name you have collected for yourself, that none of us leave this gathering, but his pains have been relieved, his worries have been removed, his debts have been paid, his weaknesses have been concealed, his sins have been forgiven, and his needs have been fulfilled. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير المرسلين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.